Okay, all set. All right, so our all team meeting today. Want to start off with a client story. And so I'm going to invite Sam to speak about one of our clients.
Hi, everyone. So I'm Sam. I'm from Ridgewood, New Jersey, and I'm a AmeriCorps member and client services coordinator in New Orleans and Southeast Louisiana. And I just wanted to talk about a little bit today, one of our clients, Jeanette Bradford. So she's from Houma, Louisiana. And as you can see here in the picture, that's myself, Jeanette, and her husband, Gerald. They have two wonderful daughters, two grandchildren, and the home actually originally belonged to Miss Jeanette's grandmother. And one of the things when we're doing work in Houma and Southeast Louisiana, a lot of these homes that were badly damaged by Hurricane Ida, they're family homes. This home was passed down through Miss Jeanette's family. Originally, it was her grandmother's. And one thing that I know everyone who had a chance to work on this project just felt so inspired by was that, as a kid and as a teenager and throughout her adult life, Miss Jeanette has helped take care of this home. She helped her grandmother, she helped her aunt, and she's taking care of family members inside the home. As you can see there, she has a wonderful smile. She lights up every room she's in. And so when Hurricane Ida hit and it badly damaged this home, really when you first stepped in, most of the walls were gutted. There was still mold inside of it. And when the hurricane hit, she was injured. She was recovering from surgery. So she felt like she couldn't take care of the home like she had for so many years. And that's when her two daughters actually stepped up while their mom was recovering. They were in the home doing what they could. The first day we were actually out there with a group of volunteers gutting some of the mold in the home. Her daughter had just gotten off of work. She drove over to the home, promptly hopped out of the car and strapped on, some PPE and was inside there with everyone else, making sure that she was doing everything she could to take care of her mom's home. It's a place that was just so special to the family. And when you're there, when you're able to interact with that family, you see how much love they have for each other. You see how much love they have for the community and they have for their home. One of the great things about this house, as you can see there at the bottom, it was actually the first house where we used a full set of those PVC cabinets. They look fantastic. They're on top of that vinyl plank flooring. So really this whole inside of the home, it's covered by a fortified roof. We're just so proud to have taken steps to make sure that the home is safe, sanitary, and secure, and that she's going to be able to continue that tradition and pass this home down to her daughters and her grandchildren. They're actually moving in now, but I know everyone involved. We had a welcome home party last week. Everyone full of smiles, but it's just been a wonderful family to have gotten to know, and a wonderful story. And we're just so proud that this home is going to continue to be passed down through the generations.
Fantastic. Sam, thank you so much. Great work. All right, next I would like to invite up Mike Sullivan, who is our National Director of AmeriCorps, to talk about AmeriCorps Week. Mike.
Thanks, Kyle. All right. Happy AmeriCorps Week 2023, y'all. Let's go. I think I've had the absolute pleasure of meeting each of y'all on this team, but for those that I haven't yet met, my name is Mike, and it's been my privilege to support our AmeriCorps programming at the national level as SBP's National Director of AmeriCorps for the last couple of years. So AmeriCorps Week, what is it? This week is especially rad because it's a week where we as a country get to come together and recognize the commitment of millions of Americans who have chosen to serve their country through AmeriCorps and to encourage others to follow in their footsteps of service. I'd be remiss and or the recruitment team would be bummed if I didn't shout out the sweet referral program that they've got going on right now. So if you know somebody, holler. Seriously though, all jokes aside, right now there are more than 140,000 AmeriCorps members across this country who are serving to address critical community needs, whether it be disaster services, economic opportunity, education, environmental stewardship, public health, and veteran and military family services. And I am proud of all of that. The 75 AmeriCorps members right here, though, the 75 right here, the 75 that are on this call today, I am most proud of y'all. Whether it's been term 1, 2, or 3, but especially my 4th termers, I'm stoked, absolutely stoked to serve alongside y'all. There's been 1,969 AmeriCorps members who have served at SBP, and there will be thousands more to come. So for all of y'all, past, present, future, thank you for your service. It means a lot to me. It means a lot to SBP, and I know that it means a ton for the communities that y'all are in and serving in each day. Our grant year started in September. So Megan, big shout out to our Deputy Director, Megan Nocella, and I, we track progress not only at the calendar year, but we track it on the grant year as well. And I wanted to represent what we've accomplished so far in the 23 grant year. Our volunteer coordinators have recruited more than 1,046 volunteers who've engaged and been led on site by project leads and have amassed more than 18,661 volunteer hours. That's huge. Our deployment team has served more than 50 individuals who've been impacted by Hurricane Ian. Our client services team have served more than 1,878 impacted community members across our operations and placement sites. And our construction team has returned more than 507 of these individuals back to safe, sanitary, and secure living conditions. Kyle, can you click real quick? And we're just getting started. As my favorite NFL player, Travis Kelce, recently said in the Super Bowl, and if you saw SNL a couple of weeks ago, you saw this. He said, more, 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 baby, more. Let's go. We know the work that we do prevents people from reaching their breaking point. And for the last 5 years, we've worked with ICF, a global consulting firm, to evaluate the efficacy of our programming, positing that community members served by SBP AmeriCorps members will achieve an increased sense of community connectedness, improved mental and emotional well-being, and an improved sense of financial security. I recently had the opportunity to sit in on a focus group that ICF led to understand from our clients just how impactful our work is. We had clients representing from New Orleans, from Puerto Rico, from Houston, and from Florida. And they all shared how our AmeriCorps programming helped restore their hope and provided peace in their lives. And I want to leave you with a couple of quotes that really resonated with me. SBP changed my life. It gave me a new outlook and a new lease on life because I was finally able to move forward from something that had held me back for years. You don't realize the impact your house makes on you, but it is a huge part of your well-being. And it gave my life a turnaround because I was stuck, and I had been stuck for quite a while. SBP accomplished in 4 weeks what I couldn't get done in 4 years. SBP has totally changed my life, completely. How about that? I want to challenge y'all. Keep this at the forefront of your mind this week and through the remainder of your time here with us at SBP. What we are doing matters. What you're doing matters. Your story matters. The story of our clients matter. How can we amplify your story, your voice, and encourage others to recognize, promote, and engage in this important work? That's my challenge for y'all. Thank you for your time today. Thank you for your service. And with that, it is my pleasure to introduce our first member story of the day today. That's Angelina, a client services coordinator out of Florida. Angelina, please, the floor is yours.
Hi, thank you, Mike. Hello, everyone. I'm Angelina. I was born and raised on Long Island, New York. I lived in the city for several years while attending school. I'm serving as a client services coordinator in Panama City, where we're helping to do disaster recovery after Hurricane Michael, and then more recently assisting with efforts in Southwest Florida due to Hurricane Ian. I chose to join AmeriCorps because I survived various obstacles, and my life and the life of my family was improved by the service of others, whether individuals or organizations. And so I've always been service-minded. It's a part of who I am. But after several years of school, I wanted to do something really, I wanted an immersive experience. I wanted to be on the ground with survivors and have hands-on experience. And I knew that it would be a sacrifice. I knew that it would be, there would be camaraderie, and I would be using my skills to improve the lives of others. And that's exactly what it's been. I also wanted to be shaped by that experience. So that's why I joined. And I would say one of the most impactful moments for me was he was my second client. His name is Stephen Master. When we walked into his house, it was, the carpets were still damp from 4 years ago. It was almost to the day that Hurricane Michael hit when we were able to help him. We were able to give him a new roof, replace his roof. And I'll never forget making that call and telling him that he was approved and that we were able to do so. His excitement, but the relief in his voice, I will never forget that. And he told me that he lost hope. He lost hope in people, in his community, and organizations. He never thought he was going to be able to get assistance, and we were able to provide that. And we gave him so much more than a roof. Like Mike, what you were saying, you quoted someone who talked about the well-being and being stuck. He now has hope and a renewed sense of faith in his community and people, and can take the next steps forward. I also want to say that being able to be part of an assessment team going to Southwest Florida after Hurricane Ian, assess damages and meet with clients, and then also assisting in tarping and roofing efforts there has been very impactful and has really given me a sense of disaster recovery kind of full circle. Like here in Panama City, it's 4 years later, but in Southwest Florida, it's more immediate. And so you're really aware of the gaps that exist for people and how organizations like SBP, it's really, for a lot of people, it's the only way they're going to get help. So yeah, I've definitely gotten a better sense of the disaster recovery landscape in seeing both timeline, and seeing both disaster recovery settings at different times post the storm. That's all.
Angelina, thank you so much. Thanks for sharing. Also want to shout out, due to the work that you and the Florida team have done to get Stephen back into his home, right? They became donors. His family became donors. And I think that's a huge testament to the care and the mom rule that y'all demonstrated through that service. That's wonderful. Next up, I'd love to introduce Miss Pauline, who is a client services coordinator from our operating site in Southwest Louisiana. Miss Pauline, the floor is yours. You're muted.
Pauline, if you can hear us, you're on mute. I'm so sorry. You'll have to start over. Still not. I'll let you know when we can hear you.
Okay, great.
There we go. Perfect.
So the first time it was an exercise. So fellow AmeriCorps and SBP people, I learned a lesson today that not only be ready to serve, but you must also be ready to share. So with that, I'd like to say my name is Pauline Kwabo. I am originally from Liberia, West Africa. and I immigrated to this country in 2000. After we had so many instability in Liberia, I migrated to the USA with my family, my husband, and my 2 children. We have 1 grandson, but we have 2 grandchildren on the way. So by June, I will have 3 grandchildren. And we live in Maryland on the East Coast. And I'm currently serving as a client services coordinator with the Southwest Louisiana team. I had an opportunity to have Peace Corps volunteers serving as teachers throughout my academic sojourn. And I was inspired by their selflessness and their dedication to service. Additionally, as a Rotarian, I'm also happy to serve, and I find that it's rewarding at the end of the day. Last year, my husband noticed my restlessness and encouraged me to sign up for a membership with AmeriCorps. He served in 2004 as an AmeriCorps member in Southeast Washington, D.C. at the elementary school, Garfield Elementary School. And I am glad I did. After I was contacted and received the approval to join, Ian asked me where I would like to serve. He gave me 3 options, and I selected Lake Charles. I looked up the city on the internet and discovered that the weather is beautiful and the food is slightly similar to that of West Africa. Lake Charles was my first choice. I came depending on my instincts and that the team would be receptive to diversity and wonderful to work with. I also saw this as an opportunity to expand my horizon and learn more about the people of Louisiana and their culture. And I can say that I am not disappointed. I have been fulfilled so far. The most meaningful moment of my service so far is the experience I had when I attended my first welcome home party hosted by the Mennonites, one of SBP's partners. The client's home was destroyed by Hurricane Laura, and you should have seen the expressions, the gratitude, the joy on the faces of the clients and her family members, especially her grandkids, when they saw the room was fully furnished with bunk beds and all of that. I am so grateful for that experience. I tell you, I will not forget that experience. And another one is the day-to-day vulnerability of the clients that we interview. They're so vulnerable. We have to empathize with them, but we cannot go overboard because we can't serve everyone. But I want to say a shout out to the SWALA team. You have been a great help. I appreciate you. And to me, service to the community is priceless. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Pauline. All right, next up, I would like to invite Dulcie Togstad, our Recovery Programs and Project Manager, to go through some 2023 build goals and highlights. Dulcie.
Thanks, Kyle, and thanks. It's so fun to hear these stories and to just to see the impact of our AmeriCorps team and just the history of the program at SBP over the years. As a former AmeriCorps member myself, happy AmeriCorps Week to everybody. Like Kyle said, I get the moment to, on behalf of the build team, to talk about our goals for the year, as well as just some highlights, some impact that the teams have had so far this first quarter. So to start, our goal, one of our goals for the year is to rebuild a combined 517 homes through our OOR and RAF programs. We are well on our way with 83 homes rebuilt to date. I'm going to cross our operating sites that host volunteers. We are aiming, as you can see, to meet that 12,000 volunteer instances. And I know that our teams are currently in their first busy volunteer season of the year with spring break across many colleges and universities that brings volunteers to our build sites. Through our build work, we are preserving home equity for those disaster survivors whose homes we rebuild. Last year, we preserved just under $23 million in home equity. And this year, we're on target to preserve $25 million in home equity for our disaster survivors. And lastly, we want to leverage the resiliency and sustainability measures on 75% of the OOR projects that we complete this year. A recent win in this area was the delivery of recycled blue jean insulation from our partners at Good 360 that we're excited to be able to incorporate into projects in Houston and Southwest Louisiana and Southeast Louisiana and New Orleans. So that's the high level overview of what our goals for build for this year are. So I'm going to take another moment or two to highlight some specific wins that each of our operating sites have had recently. So coming out of Southeast Louisiana / New Orleans, Sam shared about Miss Jeanette's project at the beginning of this meeting, but I just want to take a moment to emphasize the use of PVC cabinets in this project. The New Orleans, Southeast Louisiana team has really led the way in utilizing this product. And I know Miss Jeanette's Welcome Home Party was a great opportunity for that team to really be proud and showcase the resiliency and sustainability work that they're doing. Additionally, Kenneth and the RAF team has successfully secured the first reimbursement through the RAF program. This is big, netting almost $25,000 that can go back into our RAF program to then help more disaster survivors. Coming out of Houston, I want to share some appreciation to the volunteer department for really pushing their outreach efforts. This focus and drive in volunteer outreach has really increased the number of volunteer instances been forecasted so far this year, and it really doesn't look like they're slowing down. So huge shout out to them. In Southwest Louisiana, last month, John and the team secured 3 CDBGDR projects through a highly competitive bid project, in addition to securing a large donation for their Lake Charles work. 5 projects, like you said, see John's chat, it's 5 projects, not 3. Don't want to discredit those extra 2. And so the Southwest Louisiana team continues to really bring positivity and really just keeping clients centered in the approach of all their work. Kudos to Pamela and Stephen in Florida for their hard work in helping to scale our Ian build activity in Southwest Florida, while navigating the state programs to create really strong impact. More to come here in a moment about our Florida work, but I just wanted to highlight that our Ian build work is underway. In South Carolina, that team is wrapping up our grant that we have with the city, expected to end this quarter. And so again, big thanks to Rick, Paul, Maria, and everybody on the South Carolina team for the tremendous impact that you've had in helping homeowners in South Carolina. The Bahamas team is starting out strong with 18 projects completed, and Andy kind of finagled his way in negotiating a tax-free concession with the government of Bahamas. And so this is going to allow us not have to pay out of taxes and really free up some money in the budgets for that operating site this year. In St. Vincent, we've heard a bit about the volcanic ash block project. Well, it's officially launched in January. 5 of those homes have been completed with another 10 in the pipeline. So shout out to Carla and Andy for your vision and leadership there. Lastly, but not least, we have our Puerto Rico team. They completed their 275th project last month. That's a big number. We're proud of that. I know the team is proud of that. In addition, they were just granted a NCCC team who's going to be serving alongside our team of AmeriCorps members for the next 2 months. So even more impact is going to be happening in Puerto Rico for the kind of months to come. Again, big thank you to our ops team for the work that you're doing. A special shout out to all of our AmeriCorps members that show up every day to help our clients. And with that, I believe I'm passing it on to Reese to talk a bit about our other work outside of build for Q1.
Awesome. Thank you, Dulcie, so much. Really appreciate it. And yes, we're passing it on to discuss the, let's see, sorry. advise highlights in Q1. So Reese, I believe you are up.
Good to see everybody. Excited to spend some time together. I'm so thankful for what folks shared today and feeling really humble for an opportunity to share as well. Running quickly through, we have advise and advocates goals on a later slide, but you may remember from a previous presentation, I was excited about the potential for congressional oversight this year around the performance of FEMA and HUD. It seems like we've got good purchase for that. I have a date now, March 29th. I'm still waiting on an official invitation, but I expect SBP is going to have an opportunity to testify to the House Committee on Transportation and Infrastructure, specifically the subcommittee that oversees FEMA. So stay tuned for additional details, but that's a scorecard goal that I think we're going to bag up by the end of this month in the first quarter. It'll be an opportunity for us to draw attention to the way FEMA is getting it wrong for so many survivors in Louisiana and Florida and Texas and elsewhere that SBP works. So we're excited about that. Even more exciting, JR and team have been putting real rubber to road with the leader practitioner course and follow-up training activities for those who come. So we've already done, I think, 3 leader practitioner courses this year, one on site with a specific grantee, one finance leader course that we hosted in Savannah, and then another general leader practitioner course hosted in Savannah. Each of those training engagements has already yielded additional paid training opportunities. So after our successful LPC in Savannah, we'll go on to do additional trainings this year in Puerto Rico, the U.S. Virgin Islands, and Florida. And we expect that each of those opportunities will yield advisory service contract opportunities as we've done in Kentucky. So JR recently locked in a 6 to 12 month advisory service contract with our partners in Kentucky so that SBP continue to provide the long-term disaster recovery knowledge that we have to our partners on the ground, government partners on the ground in affected communities. Speaking of affected communities in Kentucky, I just got a text message a few minutes ago, and we'll share it around later once I get the full write-up, but our colleagues Sarah Hambrick and Hannah Troutwine were today in Hazard, Kentucky, and they had an opportunity to sit and meet in a couple of closed door meetings with the Secretary of HUD and her head staffers. So we got some great pictures of Hannah and Sarah along with Secretary Fudge, and we're thrilled about the opportunity to present Recovery Acceleration Fund and get her excitement as well. I had here HUD excitement around RAF because just 2 weeks ago, Secretary Fudge's top lieutenants, Trey Reffitt and Marion McFadden, came to visit SBP, looking for ways they can more proactively and publicly endorse the Recovery Acceleration Fund and help enable that work in other communities. So we'll say a little more about what we think is coming together in Florida soon, but there's great national attention headed toward SBP's Recovery Acceleration Fund, terrific tremendous support for it at HUD, and we're excited about HUD's involvement in Kentucky today as they're announcing the allocations from the last round of disasters. So we soon expect to see a Federal Register notice in the next 1 to 3 months outlining who's going to be receiving almost $3 billion worth of taxpayer assistance that'll go on to animate the kinds of programs that SBP's advise and advocacy work really focuses on. So a lot of exciting stuff happening in Washington today, a lot of exciting stuff happening in our fellows program, hanging out with Secretary Fudge. And then I'd leave you all with One App. As you know, One App is SBP's effort to cause a single application for federal disaster assistance. Right now, disasters fill out 3, 4 different applications. They get referred around to 2 or 3 different agencies. It's really confusing and frustrating for applicants. And it's causing people to get much, much less assistance than they're eligible for. There are a couple of bills in Congress, SBP is supportive of both, that would cause all the federal agencies to use a single point of entry, a single intake application for federal assistance. And so we're confident those will be introduced this Congress. We had hoped for the first quarter, but it seems like the calendar is going to slip a little and it may get introduced in the second quarter over the summer. Those are the updates I have for now. I know I ran through a lot there, so I'm happy to take questions if folks have them now. Or at the end of the call. And if you're wondering why my camera in office looks weird, it's because my normal camera is I keep looking up at it, but you can't see me there. You can see me here. So I'm using a different camera today. That's it for me. Thanks a lot, folks.
Fantastic. Thank you, Reese. So I'd like to invite Claire Bowsley, our Director of Disaster Assistance Programs, and Pamela Kidwell, our Executive Director in Florida, to chat a little bit about Florida and Hurricane Ian.
Hello, all. So this is Pamela. I'm in Panama City today, but I have been working in Southwest Florida off and on, running the roads. And right now we're working with the program that was set up by the Florida Division of Emergency Management. It's called the Sheltering in Home for Recovery Continuation, formerly known as SHRC. And did you stop me, Kyle? No. So we're working with homeowners who have signed up for this program. Currently, we have 107 homes in our pipeline. We have been able to turn some of those back for various reasons, whether the homeowner is doing their own remodel and want to do something different from the program, or they are not able to use us because they are in a HOA, or they've already met the criteria of the program, which is a simple, we supply a dry area, we supply a bathroom, we supply a kitchen sink with countertop, a refrigerator, a range, a microwave, and we make sure that the floors are solid and the walls are covered in the bathroom. So with that being said, we've thus far estimated and walked of those 107, we've estimated and walked 35. We've have estimates coming in and we'll release to the state for approval 11 estimates tomorrow. We were the first in the program. We are one of several BOEDs that are participating, and we were the first to turn back completed projects. We completed 2 prior to anyone else. We currently have 1 open, and we will be opening in the next 5 to 7 days, 10, probably 11 projects. And that's kind of the quick overview of what we're doing. The program's running with some molding as we go. We kind of have started out with one program and changed it to another, but it's working as it is right now. And hopefully that will continue on and we'll be successful. That's it.
Fantastic, Pamela. Thank you so much. And Claire, did you have a piece to add as well? I might be mistaken. Okay.
It may be me. It may be actually, I had a piece to add about Recovery Acceleration Fund.
Ah, okay. Would you like to give us an update on the RAF?
Yeah, sorry. Just a quick update in Florida this morning. Secretary Fudge says most of the 2.7 billion is going to be going to Florida. I've seen preliminary lists. It looks like some will go to Volusia County and some will go to Lee County, and there's a couple other counties, and then some will go directly to state government. What we've heard from Florida Department of Economic Opportunity, who receive a lot of that money, I'm forgetting exactly how much now. They've indicated they intend to include reimbursement as SBP has requested. Now that it seems like counties are going to receive some of those funds directly, we'll need to get smart on what agencies in these specific counties will be receiving the money from HUD and whether they'll be writing their own action plans or merely accepting allocations that come from the DEO. This is all still a little unclear to me, but the headline here is positive news. Florida is now going to get money from HUD, and the agency that oversees the statewide recovery program says that at 99% sure they're going to include reimbursement like we're asking for. So excited about that, and I'll report back here to this group and everyone when it's moves from pencil to ink and ink to slate.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Reese. Great update. All right. So with that, well, I'm sorry, a huge thank you to Reese, to Claire, to Pamela, Thomas, and Stephen, and all the others who've been involved in pushing forward our work in Florida. Really incredible. With that said, I want to transition to the other focus of our meeting today, which is storytelling. That's one of the themes, one of the big themes this year is storytelling. We know that stories have power. They honor the experience of our clients. They help galvanize people in action to support our mission, whether volunteering, donating. We all have to be storytellers. And on today's call, I am excited to invite a special guest who is one of our board members, Lee Carter, who has generously agreed to share with us a lens for how we really can tell stories. And with that, I would love to hand it over to Lee. So Lee, all yours.
Thank you, Kyle. So I'm so happy to be here with all of you. Thank you for sharing this time with me. I'm really excited to hear about some of the updates in Florida, as that's something that's really personal to me. So congratulations, team, on where you are with that. And thank you I have a lot of family who's impacted down there. So I am Lee Carter. I am a member of the board here and have been for the last few years. And in my day job, I run a company that focuses on messaging and communication. So we advise companies and nonprofits and government associations on how to communicate more effectively. Our whole philosophy is it's not what you say that matters, it's what people hear. And we don't believe that we have the best answer in how to explain a message without talking to the target audience. So we're really focused on how do we reach others and help them resonate. One of the themes that comes up over and over again is one of the best ways to bring to life something that's really complicated is through storytelling. And I'm not sure how familiar you are with corporate storytelling, but it's been a trend for the last several years, and a lot of people talk about it in a lot of different ways. But humans are very emotional beings. We make decisions not because we're rational. We are emotional beings we're emotional human beings, emotional beings who are occasionally rational, not the other way around. And so one of the things that's really, really powerful for us to connect is through storytelling. Everyone on this call is able to be an ambassador for SBP because all of you have stories on the ways that you're engaged. But when we talk about stories, it's kind of general. Like, what does that mean? How do I go about telling a story? It can mean any number of things. We all tell stories differently. What I'd like to offer up today is a framework for storytelling and effective storytelling that is pretty popular. All of you, I want you to think about your favorite film. And through that lens, most films are told through the same formula. The first is that there's a problem that needs to be solved. If you think about Star Wars, if you think about Die Hard, if you think about any great movie, there's usually a big problem that needs to be solved. If you look at, the description of a film, it's usually like somebody's facing the end of the world and ... There's always a problem that needs to be solved. And there's always a hero to every story. And the hero is often one of our favorite characters. It's the one that you remember. And when we're storytelling, we often try to make ourselves or the organization we're telling about the hero. And that's usually not the case. The hero is usually going to be somebody that's not us. It's usually going to be the clients that we serve in this case. But there's always a very important role in all really great films, and that is the guide. The guide is that person. In Star Wars, there's Yoda. In other places, there's always this sort of extra character that gives the hero the key to unlock the solution to the problem. They're essential to that story. And usually they're a smaller role, but the whole movie would not happen without him. The whole story would not be successful without him because they provide both the guidance and the solve. So that solve is usually that thing that unlocks the rest of the plot into a great outcome that we're all happy about, usually. And then there's a moral of story. Usually the point of a story is something much bigger than the one story that we're telling. And when we call that in corporate storytelling, we talk about that as a scalable fact. Okay, so there's a problem, there's a hero, there's a guide, there's a solution, there's an outcome. And there's a moral of story that means that the story is more meaningful than just the one story that you're telling. So this is the framework, and it's a framework that works for corporate storytelling, and it will work for all of you. And each piece is essential in creating both interest, but also really importantly, making sure that what you're telling is reflective of something much bigger than just the story that you're telling. That last piece, what I call the scalable fact, is the one that says, makes a difference from the story becoming, oh, that's a one-off nice to hear, to something that's much, much more impactful. So I'm going to give you an example if we go on to the next slide. And this is my story of how I got involved in SBP. So I'm not gonna use this framework right now. I'm just going to tell you all the story. About 10 years ago, I started working with Toyota. And Toyota is an amazing organization, as many of you know. they hired us to help them with their reputation and to tell better stories about who they were. Most people didn't know who Toyota was, the company. They knew them as very efficient, reliable cars, but they didn't really know the other side of the company. And because Toyota is who they are, they invited us not just to go and visit and have some interviews with folks to try and understand Toyota. They were like, you have to get your boots on the floor. You need to go and see all of the different things we do. So they sent us to manufacturing plants. They sent us to see TSC, where they share all the good stuff they do. And they sent us down to New Orleans to your old headquarters. And they were working with SBP, and they sent us there, and they said, this is the kind of stuff that we can do to help other people. And so it was there, and Zach and Liz were there, and they just sort of told the story of how this all got started. And I had no idea how many people were still out of their homes years after Katrina. It's a huge problem. In that place, right, there were the boards all over the place, tracking the rebuilds, tracking the progress. So I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, years afterwards, people still aren't in their homes. Liz and Zach and some others from SBP walked us through how they did what they did. They showed us about efficiency. They talked about how the production system applied. They talked about so many other things that SBP did. And of course, we were all just, I was in disbelief that this was even first of all, a problem of this magnitude. And second of all, that there was an organization with such heart, such passion, and such might to be able to help in such meaningful ways. So later on that day, after we were there, we went on a tour, and we went on a tour of the lower 9th Ward, and we saw places that were still devastated. We saw places still needed, in waiting to be rebuilt. And then we went into a home that had just been finished by SBP in the last few months. And in that home was a wonderful mother, her little boy, and his pet turtle. They were so excited to welcome us into their home because it was brand new. They hadn't been home in 8 years before that. They're finally home. And this little boy's mother had promised that when they were finally home, he could get a pet. And so the pet that he bought was a little turtle. And he was so excited to introduce that turtle to us because he was finally back at home after 8 long years of being away. And the reason they were able to get back home is because they were introduced to SBP. They were able to rebuild that home and bring them home after endless fights and endless amounts of trying. But the truth is, and what I learned that day, is that it doesn't have to be this way. There's so much that we can do. There's so much more. In fact, if you just change the way they rebuild homes, you can go from rebuilding in 60 days to a much shorter amount of time. But on top of that, there's systemic change that we can do. And if we just reduce the length of time it takes for people to get funds, we could have a huge impact. We won't have people waiting 10 years, 8 years to get back home. We can get them home faster. And we all have a part to play in that. So that's my SBP story. And if you think about it, I could probably tell it better, but the elements are all there. There's a huge problem. All of these people are still, they're still unhomed after all these years. And it's unacceptable to even imagine that we live in a world that we can't get people back in their homes, that there's so much devastation that still existed. The hero of the story, frankly, is the mother who took her family and they lived all over the place and they survived and she persevered and she didn't give up until she promised her little boy she was going to get him a pet when they were able to return home. And along the way, she met SBP. And they helped her rebuild her home so they were able to. So we've got the guide as SBP and Toyota with efficient reproduction, with an efficient rebuild. And the solve was a rebuild with a big welcome home party. So you can see all of the elements of the story come together, but the story might not be as powerful if it weren't for that last piece, which is absolutely essential. Because sometimes people would say, well, is that just a one-off? Is that just one example? And you're just cherry picking the good examples. When you introduce the scalable facts and say that this is representing so much more, you have such a huge impact. And so these are the elements of the story. I know that there's others who have been through this with me. I'm happy to answer questions, but I think Elizabeth was going to share a story in the same format. And then if you have questions, I'm happy to answer them. You can even ask them in chat too.
Great. Thanks, Lee.
Of course.
Before I share my story, just thank you to all AmeriCorps members. Happy AmeriCorps Week. Thank you for your service. Okay. Disasters are unpredictable, but perhaps the only predictable thing about them is the fact that low-income families, especially those of color, are going to suffer the most and wait the longest to fully recover. Imagine for a moment that your house is destroyed, your paperwork is gone, and you have no access to internet. You need to ask for help, but that doesn't come naturally to you. You manage to find a resource center and fill out a FEMA application. You're thinking that so many folks are worse off than you, so advocating for yourself feels selfish. When FEMA application asks, is your home livable? Your default is to be deferential and suppose that you could live in one room of the house that's not damaged. Fast forward, you've swallowed your pride in asking for help, and now your hope for relief is washed away with the news that your FEMA award is not nearly enough to cover your needs. Devastated, you decide to take control of what you can control and move on. This is a scenario that plays out thousands of times after each disaster. Less than 4% of FEMA awardees appeal, whether that's because they don't know they can or don't want to risk losing the money it costs to get damage assessments, or simply they don't want to face another devastating rejection. Through SBP's client-focused work, we've learned about the challenges disaster survivors face with FEMA, and our disaster assistance program was created to help disaster survivors take control of their recovery. We provide guidance and resources to help survivors appeal their awards. Any costs associated with appeals are covered by the generous funders of this program. Since the program's inception in 2021, the Disaster Assistance Program has activated in 5 disaster-impacted communities, helping survivors increase their collective FEMA awards by over $1.6 million. That's an average increase in awards of over $7,000. Thanks to the Disaster Assistance Program, SBP is not only helping survivors access additional resources, but we're giving them agency over their recovery and starting them on their journey towards a prompt, efficient, and predictable path home. That's it.
Fantastic. Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you, Lee, so much. All right. So in moving on, I would like to introduce Courtney and Audra. We're going to celebrate new staff members and new AmeriCorps members. Courtney, how about you go first with staff members?
I will. Good afternoon to all of my wonderful colleagues. All right, so I'm gonna have new staff members introduce themselves. They're gonna do their name, position, where they're located. And our fun question in the spirit of St. Patrick's Day Friday, I asked them, if you were to find the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, what is the most self-centered thing like that you would spend the money on? So we're not paying off loans. We're not putting money into savings. We're not helping family. We're just self-centered. I want to know what you're going to get for yourself. I want foolish answers. So Tessa, if you could take it away for us, introduce yourself and your question and your answer, please.
Perfect. Thank you. Hello, everyone. I am Tessa Barron. I am a Prepare Program Associate. I've been at SBP for at this point about a month and a half, and I am located in Columbia, South Carolina. And for my self-centered pot of gold, what I would do is I would fund a cooking competition, and I would bring in the best chefs in the world to create the best gluten-free tortellini recipe. And then once I identified the winner, I'd take the rest of the gold and I'd have them make me a lifetime supply.
Nice.
That's all I got.
Elizabeth.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Daigle. I'm the Disaster Recovery and Resilience Fellow in Terrebonne Parish, Louisiana. I live in Golden Meadow, Louisiana, actually, which is about an hour from there. And if I had a pot of gold, I would spend it on a body double. somebody that can do the maid stuff, that can transport the kids, that can do all of those things that I need to be more like in more than one place at one time.
Ooh, I want that too. Sarah, really quickly, as restated, she is in Kentucky meeting with the HUD secretary. So, hey, we're not mad at that. So, Adrian, you are actually next.
Hi, everyone. Adrian Vargas here. I'm a disaster assistant associate in Puerto Rico. And if I would find a pot of gold, I would definitely travel the whole world, and I would eat a lot. Those who knows me knows that I would eat and eat and eat the world away. So that's what I would do.
Love it. Tia, last but definitely not least.
Hello, everyone. I am Tia Miller. I am the Development Operations Assistant. I am in Houston, Texas, but I am originally from Mississippi. If I had a pot of gold, I would spend it selfishly on land with all kinds of animals because I love animals, and I would just travel the world and sit on my land with my animals. So yeah, I love farm animals. So I would get me a couple horses and cows and just wake up to the roosters and enjoy the day on my land.
Thank you. Thank you, guys, and welcome again. Thanks.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, y'all. Next up is Audra with our new AmeriCorps members.
Hey y'all, my name is Audra. I'm the onboarding specialist with SBP and representing the National AmeriCorps team today. So in the spirit of AmeriCorps Week, I want to express a super warm welcome to the folks listed on this slide that have started in the past few months. We are so excited to have you and are excited to see what y'all accomplish here in your terms. So starting with New Orleans, I have quite a few members that have started. We have Rachel Suber, Alex Hadley, John Orr, Danny Holiday, and then we've welcomed 2 returning members, Juliet Vibert and Makia Bell, both of which have started their second terms with us, which we're very grateful for to have back. In Southwest Louisiana, we've welcomed another Sarah to the team, Sarah Bercier, as a hybrid role in construction coordinator and project lead. In Puerto Rico, our team has grown quite a bit as usual, starting with Crystal Biden, Chu Taylor, Yolanda Quintero, Leah Rubio, Michael Soto, and then we've actually welcomed 3 returning members to the team again, Hector Rivera, Raquel Rios, Alexander Rosado. Huge thank you to y'all for coming back for second and third terms. Also in Puerto Rico, but with our disaster assistance program, we have Kevin Rivera Rollman, Minley Caceres, and Ana Gabrielle Sanchez. Welcome to all of you. In Houston, we have a couple different folks, Lamar Reed, Morris Broussard, Margot Thomas, Jessica Price, and then Valeria is joining us for a second term. Welcome back, Valeria, although I don't think you're on the call today. And then last but not least, Hunter Turnmeyer has started his third term with us. Again, super grateful that he is back with us. So welcome y'all and enjoy AmeriCorps Week. We're so excited to have you.
Yay! Welcome y'all. Fantastic. And Audra, thank you for introducing our new AmeriCorps members. Next up, I will take the reins here to give an update and forecast for HR. So a couple things, upcoming holidays, April 7th, Good Friday for our Puerto Rico team only. Then June 16th is Juneteenth. All team members have that day off. Speaking of AmeriCorps and AmeriCorps Week, next week, Mike Sullivan and his team will present a lunch and learn on Friday about AmeriCorps history and impact. So really looking at the origins of the AmeriCorps program nationally, and then also SBP's involvement with AmeriCorps, when we got started with AmeriCorps, how that program has grown and developed over the years, and really the impact that our AmeriCorps members have had in all of our clients' lives. Number 3 is Okta. So I have fixed a shared inbox issue, and it should be fixed for everyone. Everyone should also be using Okta without issues. So really the majority of the apps or the websites that we use, you should be using Okta. If that's not the case, or you're running into issues, please let me know. 4th is Jira ticketing support. I would ask that staff members to please continue to use Jira. to flag tech issues. It's really helpful for us to keep track of who's experiencing challenges, what those challenges are and when. And then AmeriCorps members, you don't have access to the JIRA ticket support, but if you do run into a tech issue, like a Salesforce password or something going on, please let your supervisor know and they will support a JIRA ticket on your behalf. Number 5, I hope everybody has seen the email that I sent out about the digital accident and injury form. All staff members and AmeriCorps members now have access to the digital accident form, and you have to use it going forward. You can find it in the staff or the AmeriCorps resource page. It's one of the first, I think, 4 things that you can click on, but please use those instead of the paper forms. I get notified immediately as soon as that form is completed, and then I'll reach out and make sure that everyone's okay or we're handling the situation appropriately. So please make sure for staff or AmeriCorps member injuries or accidents, that could be a bump, a bruise, it could be something bigger, please use that form. Speaking of the staff and AmeriCorps resource pages, I hope you've had a chance to review them. Now we have them up for both staff and AmeriCorps. It's a Google site, which is really just an intranet created for staff and AmeriCorps members. It's full of helpful information, content, tools like health insurance details, member handbook, staff handbook, different knowledge centers, the accident report form. If you can think of something that should be in there or that would be helpful to be in there that's not, please let me know and I'll go ahead and add it. And then just if you haven't seen it, and I know this is tiny probably on everybody's screens, but we have the staff resources page on the left here. You can see there's our values, org chart, healthcare, safety information, the injury report form, psychological first aid. I've worked to try to pick everything that people need or will want to have access to and put them in here. So for AmeriCorps, you can see there's the member assistance program information, how to apply for SNAP, the GAP childcare assistance, et cetera. So please go ahead and use those. And if you run into any issues again, or if there's something in there that you frequently use that's not currently in there, let me know and I will go ahead and add it. And then almost done here, but have to give a shout out for an AmeriCorps Week proclamation. I would love to invite John O'Donnell, our Executive Director in Southwest Louisiana, to talk a little bit about this proclamation. John?
Yeah, hey, can you guys see and hear me? Great. Yeah, so as Miss Pauline put so eloquently, Lake Charles is a place that has a lot of great food and a lot of great things going for it, but we're still pretty torn up from the 5 federally declared disasters that we experienced in about 10 months in 2020 and 2021. And so we have a robust AmeriCorps presence here throughout a variety of different social programs, including Big Brothers Big Sisters, as you see here, and our local veterans programs as well. And so we got together and pulled the mayor aside and wanted to issue a proclamation declaring AmeriCorps Appreciation Week throughout the city of Lake Charles so that everybody serving in an AmeriCorps capacity in Lake Charles is recognized and appreciated, and the entire city knows how much we appreciate their hard work. And so we worked with the mayor to write it up and had him sign it, and then did this wonderful photo op that we followed up with kolaches and donuts, as we do in Southwest when we want to celebrate something.
Fantastic. Awesome. Love it. And great picture with everyone. All right. So we're almost wrapped up here. I want to take a moment to do shout outs across the board. I'm going to kick it off with I think a really important but an easy one. Shout out to all of our AmeriCorps members who are currently serving a term of service, if that's their first term or their 4th term. A number of, as y'all know, a number of staff members at SBP are former AmeriCorps members, and those that aren't have a lot of experience with AmeriCorps, and we know what sacrifice doing a term of service is. And further, we know how much impact y'all are creating across the board at SBP. So just a huge thank you to our AmeriCorps members. And we'll open it up to anyone who wants to do a shout out, either in the chat or just coming off a mute and shouting somebody out.
I'll start, and I apologize, my connection had dropped at the worst time, but I want to give a huge shout out to Zach and Reese, Nicole and Keith for fully unleashing it and helping us get this new exciting program started here soon for Florida with DAP. So grateful to them and all their hard work. And I also love to give a shout out to the whole DAP team for steering through turbulence and wearing their hard hat as we overcome hurdles and improve processes. So big shout out to everyone.
I'd like to shout out to the AmeriCorps folks. You know, in this day and age when it seems that the world is increasingly selfish, the AmeriCorps people are increasingly selfless. And I just want to say thank you to all those out there who are doing AmeriCorps work, whether it's your first term or your fourth term. Thank you all for doing that. That means a great deal to all of us here. And I just want to give you the most sincere thanks that I can for your service to something bigger than yourself. So thank you.
And lots of great shout outs coming in through the chat. So please make sure to check those out as well.
Hey folks, Zach here from Carpool, which is why the camera's off. And please excuse Liz, she's traveling with Edgardo and the Housing Secretary of Puerto Rico to a conference on affordable housing in Cleveland, where we're doing some great work with some innovative housing and hopefully something to announce in Puerto Rico soon. I as well want to shout out the heart and soul, not just of SBP, but thousands of nonprofits across the country, AmeriCorps, like JR, when, you know, I think when I get challenged about America's future, it's AmeriCorps members who make my hope and belief in a terrific future for our country rock solid. So AmeriCorps members, thank you.
I have a shout out that I want to do. I want to shout out the Southwest Louisiana team. I know that Dulcie touched on it a little bit, but we had a pretty big win with a program called HRP, which is the City of Lake Charles housing and rehabilitation program through HUD. It's the recipient of the HUD money that's going to help people get home here. And it's a very competitive bid process. There's 46 other contractors that are working to win these bids for people that need to get home. And Brian and Laura really went ham on in about 6 days to get these things turned around, to get all these bids in. We bid on 18 projects. We won 5 of them. And that's just the first round of bids, but it totals to about $230,000 that we're going to be able to supplement our budget with and hopefully stretch our charitable dollars and be good stewards of donor dollars so that we can bring more people home in Lake Charles. And we've got a couple more bid rounds to go. So there's going to be more money coming in. And just a lot of hard work that these two are really putting in to make that happen. And I want to shout them out for it.
Fantastic. All right, going once on shout outs, twice. Anyone else have a shout out?
I've got one.
All right.
Angela, I don't know if you're out there. There's a lot of squares, but Angela and I were on a funder call last week or the week before. I can't remember because time is a construct. But Angela showed up in such a beautiful way for this new potential funder call in a way that I am excited to work with so many of you on these calls, in which she talked about the work that Cher is doing both intelligently, but more importantly, accessibly, so that the funders could understand the many ways in which we show up for this work. And it was such a privilege to be on the call with her, and I'm excited to have more opportunities to share the great work that you all are doing in other calls as well. And just want to shout out Angela for doing such a great job and being so supportive in that call. So thank you.
Fantastic. All right. Well, with that great shout out, we are going to conclude our meeting. I want to thank everybody for speaking. And if you didn't speak, then for listening and participating. I will, as always, put this out to the group recorded video and send out the chat log. And I hope y'all have a great rest of your day and a fantastic close to your week. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Kyle. Thanks, y'all.